Hey guys, it's Black Girls YouTube too, and I'm on a roll today with the videos, so I'm gonna continue. We're gonna talk about the first book on my Black Girls Read to 2016 reading list, and it's called The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. Older subscriber, you've probably read this book. If you're a younger subscriber and you haven't read it yet, please baby pause this video, go pick up the book and read it before I give you all different types of teasers and all that kind of stuff. Don't let me ruin it for you. So the reason that I chose this book to be first on the list is because I think that we as Black women have to understand how to truly love ourselves. Because think about it, especially if you live in America, the standard of beauty is set by, Europeans, and it's always telling us that our hair needs to be straight, our eyes need to be light, our skin needs to be closer to the color of butter and or milk, and that any Black feature on a Black face is ugly. And yet, we see other women of other races trying to embody the features that we were born with. So why can't we love them from birth? And The Skin I'm In is definitely a book that talks all about that. The main character, Malika, is dark skinned and very, very, very dark, and everybody at her school makes fun of her for it. She sees that she's a beautiful girl, and the whole book she's trying to figure out why nobody else can see that. And then you also have Miss Saunders, her teacher, who I'm assuming suffers from, I want to say this right, vitiligo? I'm going to put the word here. I need to expand my vocabulary. Anyway, I'm assuming that she suffers from that because she talks about how, there's splotches or scarring on her face where some of her skin is lighter. And so people make fun of her for that. And she's come a long way in understanding the beauty in herself and understanding that God doesn't make mistakes, and yet why can no one else see that? Then you also have John McIntyre. This kid just makes me want to punch him in the face the entire book. He's the same color as Malika, but the entire book he's just tormenting her and all this kind of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, as well as Malika's trying to figure out, why does this kid hate me so much? We look alike. Why are you bashing me? And all of these themes that I've named so far are prevalent in society as a whole, but they're also very, very evident in the Black community itself. So I want to start with an excerpt from page 19 to 20 when Miss Saunders is giving the class an exercise in which they have to tell the whole class what they think their face tells the world about them. Miss Saunders asks what they think her face means, and Malika's the only person that answers, and she says that she thinks Miss Saunders' face tells the world that she's a freak. So, freak, she says. I saw that too when I was young. Then she explains how she was born with her face like that. How when she was little, her parents had the preacher pray over it, the old folks worked their roots on it, and her grandmother used some concoction to change the color of that blotch on her cheek so that it matched the rest of her skin. Miss Saunders says none of the stuff she tried on her face worked. So she finally figured she'd better love what God gave her. Liking myself didn't come overnight, she says. I took a lot of wrong turns to find out who I really was. You will too. Everybody starts talking at once, asking her questions. Miss Saunders answers them all. Some kids even go up to her face and stare and point. She lets them do it too, like she's proud of her face or something. Then Miss Saunders comes over to my desk and stares down at me. It takes a long time to accept yourself for who you are, to see the poetry in your walk, she says, shaking her hips like she's doing some African dance. Kids bust out laughing. To look in the mirror and like what you see, even when it doesn't look like anybody else's idea of beauty. For a minute, it seems like Miss Saunders is getting all spacey on us, like her mind is somewhere else. Then she walks Then she's back, talking that talk. So what's my face say to the world? She asks. My face says, I am smart, sassy, sexy, self-confident. She says, snapping her fingers, rapid fire. It says, I am caring. And yes, even a little cold sometimes. See these laugh lines? She says, almost poking herself in the eyes. They let people know that I love a good joke. These tiny bags, they tell the world I like to stay up late. What do I think my face says to the world? I think it says that I'm all that. She says, snapping her fingers. Shout out to you, Miss Saunders. All the way from the beginning, repping like a true G. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. The biggest thing that I want you guys to take away from this book, have you read it? And if you have already read it like a long time ago, please read it again, is that we are absolutely beautiful beyond measure. Okay? Like, there is nothing wrong with us. Anything that you might think is negative is in your life, in you, a part of you for a reason. And it makes you unique and it makes you different than the person standing next to you. Okay? There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Just the way we are. Just the way we are is beautiful and gorgeous. And I mean, that shows, like, all the kids in the school make fun of Malika and tell her that she's black and ugly and all this stuff, but then she has this gorgeous, gorgeous boy named Caleb just loving on her. Just, oh, he's like, Malika, your skin is just beautiful. Okay, wait. I really like the poem that he read to her. To Malika, my sweet dark chocolate candy girl, would you be my almond joy? My chocolate chip, my Hershey kiss, my sweet dark chocolate butter crisp. Hand in hand we'd walk to class and sit and talk in sweet green grass. Roller coaster way up high, pick moonbeams from out the sky. Would you be my almond joy, my chocolate chip, my Hershey kiss, my sweet dark chocolate butter crisp. Caleb! You dog! It just goes to show that even when other people don't see the beauty in you, there will always be that one, the one that is meant for you, that will just love it all. Just he or she will see everything and more in you. And I hope that he or she drives you to see it in you as well. But you have to see it in you first. That's another excerpt that I wanted to pick out, talking about loving yourself before you love someone else. So I'll start with Miss Saunders. Romeo and Juliet didn't play by the rules. People had expectations for them, wanted them to act and be a certain way, but they refused. Yeah, and they died anyhow, Worm shouts from the back. So what's your point? You tell me. Anybody here believes strongly enough to die for something or someone? My homies, Eric yells, I'd give up blood for one of my boys. My mama, shouts Desda. Nobody, says Jeremy. Ain't doing no dying for nobody but me. It's cold but true. Don't love nobody as much as my own fine black self, he says, kissing his arm from shoulder to fingertip. Now everybody's cracking up, including Miss Saunders. Yeah, Jeremy loves himself some Jeremy, Raina says. Jeremy starts rubbing his cheeks. You gotta love yourself, baby. If you don't, who will? Romeo loved Juliet. My father loves my mother. People love other people, Desda says. But when they're gone, who's gonna love you? When Romeo died, Juliet killed her stupid self. She loved him more than her own self. Now, did that make sense? Jeremy says. Miss Saunders is on the other side of the room now. She's standing next to Jeremy. You're saying we shouldn't love people so much? No. I'm saying if you love yourself more than you love me, you will take good care of you. And you won't try to do me in because that's just gonna cause problems for you. People who love who they are ain't gonna make unnecessary trouble for themselves. Get it? This kid is in the 7th grade speaking truths and not everybody is understanding him. Snaps for you, Jeremy, because you are like speaking my entire existence right now. It is very important to find somebody or something to love in this lifetime before you go. You have about 100 years, and I do think that everybody has one soulmate. So it is important that you find them. But don't lose yourself in finding that person. I don't believe in loving someone or something more than you love yourself. Because as Jeremy said, like, okay, so if someone else loves you, obviously they're never going to do you wrong, which is great to have. But if you love someone else more than you love you, and you will like let yourself go and kill yourself just to show the other person, no, baby, no, because then you guys are both in a predicament. How are you going to let yourself go and kill yourself so that there's nothing left for them to love on? If you love them that much, you will love yourself. You will take care of yourself. You will be there for yourself. And then also, what happens if you're loving the wrong person? If you're loving the wrong person more than you love yourself, and then they leave you, what does that leave you to do? You got to think about these kinds of things. I know that in the past I've been anti-relationship, but I'm kind of seeing the light in relationships and being with another person. However, I will always, always, always love myself unconditionally and unapologetically before I love any other man. Any other man. Let's move on. There's another excerpt that I want to read and discuss, and then I promise that I'm done and we can move on to the next book on the list. Malika finally just like has too much of John. She just doesn't understand anymore. Like, why do you hate me? And that's where I'm gonna start. Why do you hate me? I asked, looking right at John. His cheek twitches. You bugging, girl, he says. I look at him like he's crazy. John's been hating me all my life, it seems. Now he's standing here denying it. I don't think nothing about you, he says, jerking up his pants. Seems like nobody's in the halls but me and John, only there's plenty of kids around pushing and shoving one another out of the way. The teachers are trying their best to move all of us kids along, but it ain't working so good. That song you sing about me ain't right, John, I say. It just ain't right. So what? You ain't all that, you know. Oh, what? I want to ask. But John don't give me a chance. He says I got what I deserved on the bus that day. He says since the first time he met me, I acted like I was better than him. I'm looking at John like I ain't never seen him before. Better than him? When did I do that? He says something stupid crazy. He says it was back in 2nd grade when I just moved to the Heights. I walked into class that first day with a new pink polka dotted dress on and black paint and leather shoes. The teacher told me to sit in the desk next to his. I said I didn't want to. I wanted to sit up front next to Caleb. That half-white punk, John says, knowing full well Caleb ain't mixed. Now my mouth's hanging open. I didn't even know Caleb back then, I say. I wanted to sit up front because I couldn't see the board, I explain. Looking at John, I tell him, you hated me all these years for something I didn't even do? No matter, he says. You given me plenty of reasons not to like you since then, thinking you super smart, acting like you too good for me. I tell John how things really is. I'm failing all my classes. Shar's on my case all the time. I gotta borrow clothes to look like somebody. Good, John says. You always thought you was better than me. Now look at you. You just as bad off as the rest of us. Worse, maybe. Caleb don't want no party now, I bet. Now John's bobbing his head up and down, laughing like this whole thing is funny. One of the biggest issues in the Black community is the colorism issue. It's starting to get better. People are starting to embrace, the different colors that come within our race, but it's definitely still an issue. There's this thing where it's been ingrained in us since like the beginning of history, especially with slavery, that dark is bad and that light is good. So the darker you are, the worse people will treat you, the worse people think that you are and that you act, they think that you are dirty. But if you are light, and the lighter that you are, they treat you like royalty. And I think the explanation was in that passage right there. Such like a simple dialogue, and yet so much was discussed in it. John apparently hates Malika because he thinks that she thinks she's better than him. I have a feeling that this man had a crush on her in 2nd grade, and he thought that she was picking light over dark, and so from then on he wanted to show her like, listen girl, you ain't nothing, you ain't never gonna be nothing because you didn't want me. That is so selfish, and yet I think that is what so many people in the Black community do. I mean, in any community, of course, but I'm talking to a specific audience right now. Ladies, gentlemen, regardless of what color you are beautiful, you are worthwhile, you have something to offer this world and to offer the other people that are in it, to offer the human experience. I don't care if you're as dark as the black midnight sky or as light as the milk in my cup. It does not matter. You are gorgeous, you individual. Don't ever, I did this before in my life, don't ever let other people hate on you because they think that you think you're better than them. What that really means is they think that you're better than them, and they can't stand that. And it's the same kind of thing with colorism, it's just people being jealous. And there's always going to be people out there jealous of you and what you have. You can't let that get to you. You can't let that stop your shine. You still have to be great because God ordained you to be. So thank you guys for reading along The Skin I'm In with Sharon G. Flake and I. The next book on my list, wait for it, is The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl, written by Issa Rae. You've probably seen her whole thing here on YouTube called The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl. She's the greatest. She wrote a book, so I'm definitely gonna support another YouTube sister. And that's the next book on the list. So go out and pick it up. I'm sure it's available at Barnes & Nobles. And until then, it's been Black Girls YouTube too. Thank you for discussing this book with me. And put your comments down, in the comments section. Let me know what you thought of the book, if you're gonna reread it, all that good stuff.